I saw so many changes in Medellin within that 1 year, bro. So I could just imagine by next year how much advanced things are going to be by then. I think Medellin is really changing and very rapidly. It's not like subtle changes. These are massive changes to the point where these locals don't even recognize their own city. They're not embracing this change. It's not the city they know. And so the person they're going to blame for it is going to be the gringo.
Medellin is I've seen the big changes, bro. I'm talking about major changes in small towns, and I feel that it might pop, and it might pop in a bad way because they're now taking advantage of the situation. They're not letting it happen organically. They're just taking advantage. And it takes trial and error to learn how to deal with tourism.
When you come from a culture like ours where attention is currency, many people take their cameras, head overseas, and they're simply thinking about how they can go viral and how much money they can make doing something that's going to get some attention from people back home. But when you go to certain countries, there are things that are more important than how much money you can make while just doing some crazy stuff on camera, like social order, like honor, like machismo, or whatever you want to call those things that are more important to some people than money.
There's a lot, as far as many people are coming in here, which is cool. There's also a lot of people that don't want us here. You know what I mean? They do not like us here at all. I deal with a lot of jealousy, bro. I deal with a lot in the streets, man. You know what I mean? So I've been in like 5 physical altercations here. You know what I mean? So with local Colombians, because they'll try you. You know what I mean? They'll try to see where you at. And I could see where, like, if you're like a white content creator or something like that out here, I could see how they're going to try you, bro.
Something unique about the Black American culture, and I would say unique to Black men, is that we've never really had the control to tell Black women who they can and can't be with. So we never really found issue with seeing different men round up or approach our women and offer them trinkets to go off with them and come back, be they our sisters, cousins, or our classmates. And so the idea of shame and honor are not really as prestigious as they may be in other cultures where it's more important to keep the peace or keep things the way that they are. And as a foreigner, waving money or just acting in a way that does not really appreciate the culture that you're a part of can get people to react in a way that is not very nice. And in Colombia, it might be guys trying to accost you and maybe make sure that you don't go home. But in Japan, they'll wrap you up in a burrito, homie. I mean, if you are not understanding of the status quo, they will find a way to make sure that you're not violating their status quo, and they will wrap you up like you're seeing here, put you in a cop car, and send you back on your merry little way. That's what happens in societies where men have honor and you can't buy everything. And that's called a human burrito.
You're a gringo, bro.
Yeah, I'm a gringo to them.
You a gringo over here, my guy. Look, man, I'm going to say this as a disclaimer. For anybody that watches this video, you put this part up. I understand your plight because guess what? I was born and raised in Harlem and Washington Heights. And when I ride around in Harlem and Washington Heights today, that shit is dead, my boy. I remember when the first borough to get gentrified was Harlem, okay? When we first started seeing Dunkin' Donuts, Magic Johnson Theater, they started to change 125th Street. Instead of just the multiplex, we got Magic Johnson Theater. Then a Starbucks opened up. Then the rent started going insane. Then Columbia University started buying out the projects. Okay, so I started to see that this was a wrap. Okay, so we have a famous McDonald's on 125th Street under the 1 train. Okay, 125th Street in Broadway, that was like the staple. I mean, they did rap videos, did everything. When I talked to the owner of that, he told me he lost his lease. I knew it was over, dog. Okay, it was over. We went from paying $600 to $800 rent to going to $1,200, $2,000, $3,000. And I started to see it. And that's what actually made me get the hell out of New York. So I can understand why these people feel like that, my guy.
On my channel, I advocate for guys learning the language and the culture for a variety of reasons, but one of the reasons is that influencers can be an invasive species. I see it all the time in Japan, and Japan had an election that was a reaction to it. People that are shaking cherry blossom trees or dancing on the subway or talking too loud or getting in fights with the police. And people are saying, we would like for you to come here, but we don't want you to change the environment. And when people come here and they're trying to change the environment, you're going to get pushback. Or better said, people don't want to see their way of life, their areas gentrified. So when Americans are showing up to certain places with large amounts of money and are basically saying, we're going to turn your country into a small baby America, even the poorest of poor guys can say, nah, not my home. Something that is unfortunate that many of us as black people in the 21st century can't really relate to because, well, we don't really have a black America like many of the other people from other countries have their own space. And so they're going to protect it.
To be totally honest with you, I stay away from people that I meet here that are Americans. I'm going to be honest with you, bro. I don't feel like I'm Colombian, nothing. I know I'm American, but most of the times I got to stay away from you guys, bro. Straight up.
No, I agree. I agree. When I was in Colombia recently, I met a couple. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this is all American content creators in Medellin, by the way, before the all police come after me, but I'm saying there's a good portion of them that are in Medellin. I've talked about this before, Danilo, in some of my videos. I met some of them in person. I'm like, oh, these guys are kind of weird, like low key.
Yo, specific to Europeans, man. You people come here with an attitude like y'all on some high horse, bro. That I cannot stand that, dog. I don't like that. I don't want to flaunt my money. I don't want to. That's why guys get robbed here. Because you coming out here flaunting, acting like you big-ish, and they come and get you. And I could tell you a million stories of that's happened to guys. You think you come out here thinking, oh, yeah, throwing your money, want to wear your jewels, and next thing you know, you wake up drugged out, scopolamine out in your room, and no, you don't want to tell anyone. Because I'm going to tell you right now, a bunch of you guys have been drugged and rubbed here, and you don't want to say nothing. You go home, and you act like everything was sweet. Okay, I know the stories, my boy. You know what I'm saying? I know cops and everything over here, though. You know what I mean? So dudes be lying. Dudes be lying out here, man. I would just tell you that right now. I want everybody to come here humble, bro. Don't lead with your bread, man. Don't lead with your bread because the way you start is the way you're going to finish, man. That's just the way it is.
I think there's a question that has to be asked for guys who are getting on airplanes as quote unquote passport bros and looking to date or just have a good time overseas. Are you doing it because you're looking for a young lady, or are you doing it because you're trying to generate some content? Because if you do want to generate content, you have to find a way to do it in a way that's harmonious with the place that you're in. And the best way to do that is to spend some time studying, make some local friends, and get a feel for what kinds of situations where people feel comfortable being filmed and when they don't. If you just show up with a selfie stick and you're walking through bars and clubs and restaurants and the airport, maybe everyone in your background's not trying to be recorded that day. Maybe they're not really big on that. Maybe they got something going on in their life where they don't want to be on the internet. All of that said is something that you have to be aware of. Otherwise, you're going to appear as an invasive species.
I want you to go as quietly as possible. Do not make a sound until I tell you to run. Then run as quickly as you can.
If you've ever been to Japan during cherry blossom season, which is the very end of March and the beginning of April, it's absolutely beautiful. You can understand why many people come here, and when certain YouTubers, like this particular YouTuber, uses their camera to just get a nice picture of the beautiful cherry blossoms, there's no problem. Everyone's fine with it. Everyone's happy. They don't even mind being filmed from back. But what they don't want is people changing the scene and taking over this wonderful time of year by trying to make themselves and their antics the center of all of it.
It's whatever you like. Turn this appetite into a club. Real here, smoke, drink, party all night. Come and serve. Don't you hold me like I want you, baby. Don't you need me like I need you now. Only tomorrow is the night gonna bring. All you gotta do is just meet me at the top of
The first question I would ask is, why would Americans feel a desire to go to Japan and sing a very popular Korean K-pop song from a Korean artist? But the second thing I would mention is that if you look at the people standing around them, they're not like clapping or singing along. They're looking in a kind of bewilderment. Like, why are you doing that here when you could just go to the karaoke box right across the street and you could generate content the same way that you're doing it right now, just in a room where you guys can drink beers and sing all you want to, and you're not really bothering people that are going about their business in Shibuya. But this is what I mean when I speak of the invasive species. If you don't spend any time trying to understand where you're going, what they do, their customs, or how they are, then you're just going to go there trying to generate content which becomes some kind of nuisance to the people there. And I would imagine the first few people that went to, well, you could say a variety of places, Colombia in certain cases, and Japan in other cases, it was a new thing where, oh, this person is walking around with a camera and they're an influencer. Okay, cool. But what happens when it's 100 people and it's 1,000 people? Then what happens when those people are bringing American money and they're trying to buy things and places and elevate the price of things so high that normal people there can't really afford to live their normal lives? Or better yet, what happens if they're just behaving in a way that just has people saying, you know what, that's enough. I'm tired of this. I want you guys to go back home. That's what happens when you get people jumping off the airplane saying, I'm going to bring my country, in our case, America, with me and change the place that I'm going to into the place that I just came from. Everyone in the world is not the same. And if you don't get a feel for how to fit in and how to generate your content, then you could become an invasive species. And that invasive species is going to change the environment. And I don't think many passport bros want to see that happen. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment below, catch this video. Take care, guys.